Hey up everyone, welcome to Enlighten the Shadows. This is episode 30 with Jamie Acton. We are going to just give you some signposts for the first few minutes, but we're really excited today's show. We connected over social media and we're going to talk about lads, we're going to talk about going out, we're going to talk about drug lifestyles, just basically what it is to be a bloke and how that affects our mental health. So Jamie's got a class background. He's going to bring a lot to the table today, and I really believe we're going to have a quality chat that I really hope that some of the viewers watching get a lot out of and can relate to a lot, so they don't feel too alone, or something like we're not going to be isolated in conversation, and we feel like we can make these things come to the table better. But last week we had Kyle Field, who talked with me about some of these bad boys. So we've going on a journey in Enlighten the Shadows. We've got some Supreme CBD, sorry. I did that last episode. I'm on the 500 milligrams right now, guys. And we're using also a bit of muscle rub as well. So last few weeks when I've been playing football, guys, honestly, this stuff has been helping out massively, regulating my sleep, chilling me out, not in a way where obviously you relate cannabis to getting high. CBD is extracted from the plant. They take out the THC and it's totally safe. So check out that episode, guys. Honestly, Kyle opened up massively about his mental health, going on his journey and how that stuff's helped his life. But without going on too much more, let's get straight into it today. Jamie, welcome, mate, to Enlighten the Shadows. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to raise a bit of awareness about a subject I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, class, man. Yeah, so as I said to the viewers just a minute or so ago, I think it was Instagram, and I was just saying to you before off camera, I said, I can't remember how or why you came up on my feed, but I think it might be the hashtag of like mental health or whatever. And you did this amazing inspirational video talking about mental health, talking about also, you did a post on actual the power of cocaine and how actually, I would say it's one of the biggest elephants in the room right now in Britain the last 5-10 years. So many blokes, brother, just going out and doing on the sniff. And it's subtly become more of a norm. Like when you're out with the boys and they got the little freaking bag in and they're getting out and then they like flash it to each other as if to say, yeah, mate, I've got a sniff. Yeah, I want to go there big time today because I think there's a lot of boys that get involved in that lifestyle. And I think it's time to really just break it down and really chat real about it. And it's not, hopefully it won't be from a judgmental, like
No.
hi hat. It's more like on a level, yeah, we understand the lifestyle, but how's this impacting our life? So going back to your life, brother, like you actually used to play professional rugby, which I didn't know about until I researched you more. So
yeah,
what happened with rugby life?
Yeah, so my background, I sort of turned pro at about 17 and played rugby for about, over 10 years, or just under 10 years, sorry. And I initially grew up in London, and I moved up to Wigan to sort of pursue a rugby league professional career. But sort of on that level, when I was down in London, I came from I wouldn't say a bad background. I came from a very good home, but mum and dad broke up when I was divorced when I was about 8 years old, and that must have really impacted me, which I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to sort of understand or come to terms with at such a young age. And I think for a lot of men can go through these traumatic experiences as young men, as boys, and not really recognize that they're going through an element of trauma. So that sort of was a bit of a flag in the sand that I was never aware of. And then you fast forward a full rugby career. And I think over my rugby career, obviously in any professional sort of sport environment, it's very high pressure. You've got a lot of ups and downs. And in my experience, and a lot of shared experience that a lot of other players I know went through, you get taught where to put your head in the tackle. You get taught, how to pass a ball, but you never get taught how to deal with the emotional pressure of being a rugby player. How do you deal with the come down after playing a game, the first time you play in front of 20,000 people or whatever it is? How do you deal with the pressure of not getting in the team? How do you deal with the fact that, you know, people might not like you, and you still got to play and put your body on the line, shoulder to shoulder with that person. And those sort of experiences and challenges emotionally cause a lot of stress. And I think for me, you attach the fear of being left and not being good enough, i.e. my dad sort of leaving me, the way I thought about it in my head from a young age. And I probably carried that through my rugby career, believing, you know, I want to be loved, I want to be accepted, I want to be good enough, I want other strong men, as in rugby players, as in coaches, to give me value. And all of these things, I was probably deep down suppressing these deep urges, needs that ideally I wanted to be fulfilled. And I think because I wasn't able to sort of start peeling away the layers and start acknowledging those processes and demons, I suppose what I call them, it was a time bomb. Because inevitably, at some point when I did, as we all do in life, go through some sort of adversity or difficulty, all those problems are going to bubble to the surface and show themselves. And I think as I was playing rugby, the one of the things that I did to sort of cope with a couple of things to cope with this stress is that, one, I tried to identify or put myself out there as someone that wasn't necessarily myself. So I created a character that I played on a daily basis. You know, when I went to rugby training, I got out of the car in the morning and it was like, right, rugby mode. I'm this character that I have to live. And the disparity between not accepting myself and trying to be somebody different on a daily basis caused so much anxiety in my own self, which again, I probably wasn't aware of at the time, but was causing so much anxiety that the stress was like multiplied by 100. And I think that whilst a lot of people may listen to this, especially men, might not be able to resonate with being a professional athlete, we all go through problems. We all go through this roller coaster of life, and a lot of us, especially as men, suppress these stresses and feelings for wherever they come from. And one of the ways we often deal with it is by just pretending to be this character that's okay, pretending to be this character that fits in. And when you go home, when you're on your own and you're left with your own thoughts, you can probably resonate with the things that I felt with, you know, where you have this real disparity between these characters. I'm actually me, but I'm presenting myself as this person, and therefore I start to hate myself. And that starts to really build up and build momentum. And for me, the way I dealt with that is self-medication, i.e. drugs. You know, when I was able to do anything where I was not in my own head, and not having to face up to the fact that I wasn't living up to the man I really wanted to be, then I was happy for a very short term. But obviously that short-term gratification of getting out of my own head, whilst it felt like a little bit of bliss for a short period, it just delayed the inevitable. You know, that what comes up must come down, as I said in the video. And this is the real problem. I turned to sort of cocaine, specifically because we were tested for alcohol at training, so I couldn't drink because otherwise it'd be over the limit, but cocaine wasn't being tested for. So I knew I could go to play a match, I could go and sit in the kitchen and, you know, get off my head for hours, come out, you know, turn up to recovery in the morning, just get over it, go home, sleep for 2 days, come back training and repeat the cycle. And this is just what happened, you know, on a week-to-week basis. And I think that's the two main points really. One, as men, we've got to just start really exploring, acknowledging how we're feeling, because I think that's the absolute key. If we can't acknowledge how we're feeling and be open and vulnerable enough and strong enough to actually start going, you know what, I'm not happy at the moment, or, you know, I need to speak to my dad because I think this actually is still having an impact on me, or be able to pull a few friends at training or, you know, at work and say, have you got a minute? I need to speak about something, or reach out to someone outside of your circle. I need to speak about these problems. And you might not be able to put a finger on what it actually is. But just starting to open up and explore what you're thinking and what you're feeling is the start. And from that, you can start to have that snowball effect where you actually pick up momentum and you start going, well, that makes sense. I'll explore this bit. And it's just like doing anything in life. You got better and better and better and explore different avenues. But just like training, you've got to fail. You've got to open up and you've got to fail and be happy to explore avenues that maybe don't lead to success. But the number one is acknowledging that there is an issue, and that I waited way too late. For me, my sort of chips down moment was breaking my neck playing rugby. We meant, you know, sort of pretty much paralyzed for a few days. Came round, you know, got a double disc replacement because I got the nerve slightly severed in my neck. Came back, was fine. Literally the first thing that I woke up on the bed and said, all right, when can I start training? When can I get back into it? And the surgeon just said, no, sorry, mate, listen, you can't keep doing what you're doing and playing rugby, because the compression on the nerves, you'll just be in the same position within a few months. So I suddenly went, right, as well as sort of getting out my own head using drugs, my day-to-day vehicle for dealing with my mindset is training, you know, fitness, because it's a way of going through adversity, doing difficult things and giving me that endorphin rush and that sense of elation of achieving difficult things that enables me to sort of build momentum and stay confident in myself. But the minute you take away that, it's like, oh, what do I do? And I initially thought it was rugby but I've now since learned that it wasn't rugby, it was training specifically that helped me. But I think, as I keep saying, without making my point really, really long, it's just acknowledging how we're feeling and not waiting till the chips are down to start proactively dealing with your mental health, rather than having a reactive mentality to actually dealing with the problems.
Yes, mate. I absolutely love how in depth you've just gone the last few minutes there, because I think I relate to this so much, because I think this is so important to every bloke's life. And I'm quite a deep thinker naturally. And it's not that I'm superior and other people aren't, but for the last 10 years of my life, particularly at uni, things started to arise, things started to bubble up on the surface. And you know, I was going through my own individual journey, just like everyone else's. Everyone has different checkpoints at different times in their life. And I just was questioning everything, questioning myself, questioning what am I doing, where am I going, questioning the whys behind all the things that I do and want to do. And this deep thinking then exposed me in a really vulnerable place. And I had a mad life change. I became a Christian actually 10 years ago. From that, out of that, I found identity, found myself in purpose. But still to this day, mate, I see this all the time, this exact thing that you're on about, where we need to self-identify with how we're feeling and the processes that we're going through for our lives, you know. And I just sense that so many men continue that bottling up, as you say, pushing it down, that suppression. And I just want so much for men, like you've just beautifully described, to get to that position where it's sound to go down that vulnerable, exposing part. You know what I'm saying? Like I
completely agree. And I think there's a taboo attached to just acknowledging our feelings and thoughts and experiences.
Yeah.
And I just find that so fascinating as a concept when you just think about it logically. So from an objective, you know, perspective, we feel thousands of things every second. You know, I am currently feeling we're doing this early in the morning, so you're a bit tired. You know, I'm excited to be raising awareness and talking about, so that's two emotions already, tiredness and excitement. But at the same time, I'm also feeling the sensation of the t-shirt on my skin, right? But it would be quite common for me to say, oh, I'm tired today, but I wouldn't say I'm t-shirt on skin today. That would be weird. But then I would say I'm tired today. And what we tend to do, I've found exploring these avenues, is that people, and men do especially, we hyper focus on one sensation. And the minute we hyper focus on that and you know, verbalize it, I am this is how I am, we start to act in a way that reflects that thought, that emotion. So naturally, if I tell several people I'm tired, my actions start to reflect that of fatigue, of tiredness, of lethargy. And if we try and acknowledge how we're feeling, but accept that feelings and sensations or emotions are a completely separate entity to who we are. I'm still Jamie. I might feel tired. I might feel excited. I might feel my t-shirt on my skin, but I'm still Jamie.
Yeah.
And I think acknowledging feelings and acknowledging experiences allows us to become objective and actually identify that our feelings are coming in and out, our experiences are coming in and out, just like air is coming in and out of our lungs. You know, there's no judgment attached to it. We can't control it. We have no control over those experiences and feelings. But what we do have control over is then how we respond to them, how we act. And I think that's the crucial point. So one, as a man, you've got to be able to acknowledge how you're feeling. But two, instantly acknowledging that it's irrelevant. It's meaningless to me how I'm feeling and my experiences. What's important to me now is I've got an agenda and I want to pursue something. For example, it could be something as simple as going to the gym. My goal is going to go to the gym today. Now I can acknowledge I'm tired. I can acknowledge that I'm excited, acknowledge that, you know, things are going on. I've got all these other emotions, but that's okay. I'm just going to allow that to happen. That's flowing in and out of my body. That is what it is. I'm still taking accountability and going to choose to do what I want to do. And just doing that gives you such a sense of empowerment, whereby you're in control of your mental health. You're not living in a responsive mindset. You're not responding to these emotions instantly. You're constantly taking control of your mind. You're constantly taking control and being autonomous regarding your actions and your objectives in life. But to be able to do that, we have to be able to identify that there is a disparity between the feelings and emotions we're experiencing, yeah, and the actions we're choosing and making decisions to actually pursue.
This is good. This is good, because oh man, we're going in. Oh, this is good. I love this, because I feel there's a bit of a chasm in society today. As much as I absolutely love how mental health is getting more awareness, the stigma slowly is being chipped away, especially with men, albeit there's still problems. There's an iceberg, I call it. What I find is you've got one side over here, and I don't like to divide people, but I'm just going to call it out what it is. You've got a side over here, just the majority. It's blokes that, you know, man up, get on with it, suck it up, push the feelings down, don't identify that they know that they're just completely just whatever, blah blah. Then on the other side, you've got someone like myself who's crossed the other side and, you know, acknowledging their feelings more, like literally for 25, nearly 30 years, just completely bottled everything up, got on with it. And I was actually fine for many years. But as you said about 10 minutes or so ago, brother, about this just explosion that happened. So I'm kind of in the position where I'm acknowledging my feelings, and we've got a 3-step anagram thing. It's called ACT. So I want to take the viewers through this right now, because we haven't talked about ACT for a long time, but this is what you said, brother, and what I'm trying to describe right now is crucial. So the A is to acknowledge, on the ACT of ACT. You just got to acknowledge that it's there, as you said, as I promote all the time. C is like the comprehend, where you acknowledge it's there, you think about it, but you don't camp there too long, because the T is to take action or ownership. And you said it exactly right there. And I feel like people like myself who have come over on this side to acknowledge where they're at, mate, and it's quite dangerous. Like you can camp there too long. Like as you're learning, discovering yourself, you know what I'm saying? And you're working out feelings and going, okay, yeah, my mental health is struggling. And, you know, I do feel rage, or I do feel a bit anxious, or I do feel like literally, and, you know, this might shock people, but I felt suicidal. And I've had that. That's why Enlighten the Shadows exist. But the point I'm making is, in the take action and ownership part, this is the crucial part. People get stuck. I felt stuck at times. And you said something quite blunt. And there's a guy called David Goggins. I know you know him. He's a mad guy. For the viewers, he was like £300-400, became a Navy SEAL, and now he's just like this inspirational, like motivational guy. And he says something quite blunt, and the language is a bit dirty, but it's the point. He says, "You've got to make your demons your bitch." That's what he said. And I was like, "Oh shoot, man!" But it's true. Like, if go on.
I agree. Like, I'm on board. I'm on board with it. But there's where I would challenge sort of David Goggins, which is, with mental health, there's a huge, mental health is just a name to describe the flux of our mental state. I don't like how the phrase mental health has a negative connotation attached to it. We wouldn't say I'm suffering from physical health. It doesn't make any sense. We all have a form of physical health, and we all have a form of mental health. And as you said, you can go through 5 years or 3 years of acknowledging demons, of being worried, but you can get to a point where you're blindsided by a train, not physically, I mean as in metaphorically, or tidal waved, and it takes your feet out from under you, and you're left going, what the hell? Life does that to you.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. We don't wait to be clinically diagnosed with cardiovascular disease or diabetes before we start acting on our physical health. We're proactive. We go to the gym because we try to reduce the risk of those things happening. And I think the mental health these days, what we do is we wait until the chips are down. We react to the problem. And it's, often, and this is my point, there is a huge spectrum of mental health. And you've got right from that day where you're feeling a bit pissed off and down to clinically diagnosed psychosis. So someone suffering in a genuine suicidal state or clinically diagnosed with a form of psychosis, turning around to them and saying, listen, make your demon your bitch, is a fucking joke. Do you know what I mean? Because there is when you're in that state and you've got to that point, you are so fucking lonely. You are so overwhelmed with chaos that the idea that you can be accountable for anything in any respect is a joke. It's like asking someone, who's just, been to war and, had their arms and legs blown off, go on a run. Go on, let's go. You are not in any physical capacity to do anything. And that is why when you're at that level, you need support. Like, you need people to bloody be there. And that's what's so sad a lot of the time, that a lot of people can push people away to get to that point. And on that journey, when you start taking a lot of drugs, self-medicating as a man, you push loved ones away, you create enemies, you hang around with the wrong people. And over time, as you're getting worse and your mental health and physical health is declining, at the same time, you're pushing all these support networks away, getting less and less able to deal with your problems and your demons. And by the time you get there, you're on your own. And that's what's so scary. And most people at that point end up taking themselves lives because they're so lonely, and because they hate themselves so much. They think the world is so much better off without them. People talk about suicide as a selfish act, and it's just bollocks. It's the most selfless act going, because most men in that position just think the world's better off without me. I'm so shit. They don't need me here. And that's really, that's my point. So to do a David Goggins rhetoric to those guys is like, nah, that doesn't work. Now, saying that, other end of the spectrum, you've got snowflakes. You've got lads that are leaning on the fashionable mental health conversation and subject to go, I'm not going to actually take accountability for myself. I'm not going to go and do anything because I am feeling a bit anxious. I'm not going to go and do anything because, I don't really want to, my mindset's not in the right place. And you've got this huge chasm, you've got this huge gulf and spectrum between both those things. So as is most things with health and fitness, there's no black and white. It's all about context. It's all about what your individual position is. And I think that's the point. So what I would preach is the fact that you need to start being proactive, just as we initially talked about in terms of your physical health. You go to the gym, you try to eat as best you can because you want to try and reduce the risk of physical things happening. And you also want to try and empower yourself with physical potential. You want to feel good, you want to look good, let's say, and you want to feel confidence and that feeling of elation of doing difficult things and building momentum. And you can get that through physical fitness and through eating healthily. And if you do that, you build a sense of resilience. You build a resilient mindset. You know, I don't want to go to the gym today, but I'm going to go anyway, not necessarily for the physical benefit, but just because I acknowledge it's something difficult. I've experienced an emotion of difficulty or lethargy or tiredness, yet I'm going to still go and do this because I plan to do it. And overcoming that hurdle gives you a sense of elation. It gives you a self-recognition of success, which is the key to motivation. If you recognize that what you're doing is having a result that feels good, that you can recognize, like I said, then you'll make more of the same effort to get more of the same results. And that's the key to fitness and anything motivation in life, like I said. But if you do that, you start building a resilient mindset. So you get better at doing difficult things. And what happens is that mindset and that strength of character starts like reps. So David Goggins talks about going and doing, 100-mile run on a whim. Now that's fine, but he's gone through years and years of developing such a solid mental resilience that he is able to do that. And asking Joe Bloggs on the street, go and lift a 300-kilo deadlift, they're not going to do it. In the same way, they're not going to be able to go and do, a mad mental challenge, which is really difficult. You've got to incrementally build yourself up. Right, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to deadlift 10 kilos or whatever. I don't want to go the next day, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do 15. And you get that sort of linear progression, sort of progressive overload, which is the foundation to sort of any fitness regime. But my point is, once you start building up a resilient mindset and you kind of achieving that linear progression somewhat, you build a sense of character whereby if that tidal wave or train hits you somewhere along the spectrum, you're better prepared to deal with it. Yep. So it might still level you. You might still end up being in a position where you heavily need that support and you're at that other end of the spectrum because life is a bitch. It can do horrible things to you. But the stronger you can make yourself and the more resilient you can make yourself, the more accountable you can be for your own mindset, the better position you're going to put yourself in for dealing with those problems. And I listened to also a guy called Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you're aware of him.
12 rules for life. Yeah, I'm all on that. I'm all on that.
And his goal, which I think is brilliant, is because he wants to be the man that people can rely on at his own father's funeral. And that's his goal as a man. And basically what he's saying there, breaking that down, is there is going to be shit that happens to you in your life. Horrible shit. Horrible, horrible shit that we have no control over whatsoever. Like your dad dying. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So there's two things you can do. You can live in fear, live in worry, and be very passive about that inevitable problem. Or you can actually be proactive. You're going to, I acknowledge, I'm not going to live every day, mourning the fact my dad's going to die, but I'm going to start acknowledging that this is going to happen at some point. I need to get myself ready. I need to prepare myself for battle. That's right. And you build yourself up using mental resilience. And you're not in what Jordan makes the point of, which I think is really interesting. He's not just doing that for him. He's not just putting himself in a position where he can stand on his own feet at his father's funeral and not crumble and break down. But he wants to be strong enough to stand on his feet and deal with that inevitable, horrible situation, because he wants to be able to be the rock for the people in his little small network. So when other people might have struggles, they might have gone through a period of difficulty with their mental health or other dramas or whatever, or they might not just be on the level where they've started putting things in place like he has. So when he's at his father's funeral, as an analogy, when these people are broken and don't know what to do, don't know what way to turn, they're looking for a rock. They're looking for someone to lean on and give them a sense of strength. Mm-hmm. And if you can be the person, the man, that your network of people, whether it be your kids, your friends, your partner, your own parents at some point can lean on, there is nothing more empowering than that. So not only does the charity start at home in the sense that you're getting the resilience to deal with these inevitable problems in your life, coming on that spectrum, but actually you're able to stand on your feet in these times of absolute crisis that are inevitable and be there for the people you love at the same time. And I think that's never, let's not talk about, you know, strength and being able to throw a dig and fight someone or lift a big heavy weight or go on a ridiculous run. The idea of being able to be strong enough in your mindset and accountable for yourself and disciplined, where you're putting in the hard work for years and years and years and years to actually become mentally strong enough to deal with inevitable disasters that will happen to you in your life, not just for you, but for the people you love. I think that's being a man.
Wow. This is good. When I started Enlighten, I never knew that it would grow in the way it's grown. And what I mean by it is this is how it started. It's just this, like chatting on on YouTube. But we now support over 500 men on a private Facebook group. So we've put that on the screen for people to access now, and we have done, as you, Jamie, have been talking. But on that group, I've never posted a David Goggins thing for the reason that I say it could send someone over the edge. It could literally be that last, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yes.
And I'm so passionate about this. So this is why this episode is mad, because it's about unlocking that dynamite potential that a man can access,
yes,
and unlock for themselves. Because the point is, Jamie, is that they've got to want it for themselves. They've got to find it for themselves. You can get caught up in the savior complex. And I know what you've just said about the rock. That's different to what we're talking about. Like, that's you building up to the next level so that you are that rock. That's different.
Yeah, but you've got to deal with yourself first.
Exactly.
That's way after.
Yeah. 100%, brother. But this is the point. Like, so on that group, we're on a journey. This is me just being vulnerable. I'm not going to disclose what's said, but that group is like a brook. It's like a refuge for blokes to chat, to open up. And the things that I said on there is just amazing. Like, it's amazing, because you go, wow, they're carrying stuff, and people access that. And I'm trying to like distinguish where people feel safe to keep accessing that, to build their resilience because they're offloading. But we're trying to find the keys to level blokes up to, you know, where they're at that baseline, and then we're trying to encourage them. We're trying to skill them to find. It's like a self revelation, isn't it? And this stuff that we're talking about, and you want it so bad for them. Like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much. It's not like, it's not that I'm above them, but you want it so bad for them, because you're like, if you can tap into this,
you're not coming across. I completely agree with what you're saying. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like when talking, you come across like a slightly sanctimonious, and the especially as sort of, I would still class us as young guys, you know. I'm 29, and I don't know how old you are, Rory.
32.
So I would still class us as young men. Yeah. And I sometimes feel a little bit disingenuous when I'm trying to talk about these things and problems. And I've got, you know, good friends that are sort of twice my age. Yeah, I've got a coach at wrestling, for example, gone through a few divorces, gone through such a traumatic life. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, listening to this 29-year-old talk about mental health, what is that right? Is that acceptable? And I think the conclusion I've come to is, I think telling other people what to do is never going to be the best thing to do. It's always just about going, this is my experience. This is what I've found. This is how I feel. This is what's worked for me. And I think, again, very much like fitness, we've got to try and explore all these different avenues. And that's a very individual thing. And using your platform as a great example, that's a perfect space for people to put their ideas out there, and for people to go, yeah, that might suit me. Actually doing that might suit me. It might be more of a meditative mindfulness approach I take. It might be more of a pragmatic approach in terms of actual physical intense exercise. It might be more of a verbal approach I take, where I seek counseling, or you might be to the point where you actually go into that further end of the spectrum where you need to see a GP and you need to actually work out whether you've got a genuine clinically diagnosable problem that you're suffering with. And all of these different factors are so unique to the individual that actually just blanketing thing, this is what we need to do to help people, is I think completely the wrong approach. We've just got to all share all of our experiences, as difficult as that may be, and as you quite rightly said, give people a platform and create further platforms and increase the conversation whereby talking about these deep vulnerable issues actually is very normal, and you're not being judged, you're being listened to and heard. I think that's a very clear difference, and that's a hard thing, man. It takes a lot of intelligence and a lot of drive to listen to people and to actually try to and try to hear people to what they're saying and not judge at the same time. That's a very difficult thing to learn to do. But sort of the last point on your platform is that I completely agree. The charity's got to start at home. We've got to start acknowledging how we're feeling. Yeah. But what I've personally found is the more I've actually tried to reach out and help other people with my regarding mental health, specifically men, the better I felt in myself. So this really selfless act, it actually has been probably the most selfish thing I've done for myself. So the more I can actually, the more I can actually try and spread the word, raise awareness, help other men, the sense of empowerment I get from that is so amazing. It's above and beyond any other counseling technique that I've ever used. Just hearing another guy go, mate, that's amazing. Like you're on my level. I get what you're saying. I'm there too. And knowing that I'm like, shit, I'm not alone because he's feeling it as well. And coming together with other people. And what I would try and preach is that if you're out there listening to this and you're feeling like shit, that's all right. You're all right. You're okay, because we feel it too. Yeah. And the problem is, even if you feel better for a second, for a month, for 3 years in your experience, Rory, it'll happen again. It'll happen time and time again throughout your life. You'll do that. You know, great words of Ronan Keating, right, life is a bloody roller coaster, and it will just keep going up and down. And the minute you think, oh, you know what, I'm all right now, that's when it'll happen. Life will hit you. And it's this feeling of going, right, I'm now strong. I'm now resilient. No, you're not. You're not. It's like saying I'm now, I can lift weights, so I'm really fit. Well, go into open water swimming as a triathlete. Let's see if you're fit. And if you go and do that, go and do some rock climbing with a professional rock climber. Let's see if you're fit. And fitness is meeting the demands of your environment. You're only fit at what you do. And mental health is the same. You might be really fit and resilient at dealing with at your mindset.
Come on.
But if you then take yourself, or you're blindsided by something that you've not ready for, you might have gone, I'm really disciplined in my mental health at going to the gym and doing these difficult things on a daily basis. That's my routine I'm used to. Suddenly, a loved one dies, or, a partner gets ill, or something happens to a child or a friend. You go, whoa, my resilience wasn't ready for that. I'm not ready. Yeah. And that means you're not mentally fit for and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. You're allowed to feel like absolute shit. You're allowed to go through a horrendous process of dealing with all these chaotic emotions where you're feeling all these problems. But as I said initially in this conversation, you are not your emotions. You're not your feelings. You're still you. And you're absolutely okay to feel all these feelings, because we're all feeling at the same time. So you're not on your own. You're not lonely. You're all feeling, and we're all feeling them too. Going back to my last point, if you can actually voice that and say, oh my God, I'm not in a good place. I'm in a really bad place now. I was so strong and suddenly I've been leveled. I need support. I need to talk about this problem. By talking about that problem, you'll actually empower yourself. Wow. Because other people, other men will reach out to you and go, mate, you're bang on. I'm feeling that as well. And just doing that can build that sense of empowerment. So, as I said, the most selfish, sometimes the most selfless thing you can do is being really selfish, and vice versa.
I just love this, man. Do you know what's really good about this chat? Is that, well, first thing is, it feels like I've known you years. we've never chatted before, but it's because we buzz off the same thing. I feel that our hearts are very aligned in this, and we're not peeing about. Like, this is serious stuff, and like, it's life and death. Like it literally is. It's life and death, and it's the difference between, you know, the lads suffering in silence, taking their own life, and, you know, and being alive. It's as simple as that. And I'm loving this because I'm finding it quite reassuring. Like, I would say I don't need reassurance, but to hear from technically, like, although you're on our show and you've brought so much fire to the table, I don't know you from Adam in a way, but just hearing what you said reassures me so much, because I'm still working this out, brother.
Oh, we spend our lives working it out.
Yeah.
We never win. We never win. It's like getting good at a sport like football. I know you played football. You can never win football. You just spend your life getting better until your body starts to decline to the point where you can't keep up where you were. There's never a win, which is why, and I don't want to go mad deep, but it's all about the process. It's all about the journey. Yeah. That is where happiness lies. You know, one of the things that I've found with men specifically, especially driven, motivated men and ambitious men, they're the ones, probably like myself, I don't know if you're the same, Rory, but have the biggest crashes and sense of depressive mindsets and erratic mentalities. And the reason why I think that is because when you're ambitious and you're motivated in life, you're never content, you're never happy. So the minute you've achieved a goal in any capacity, the first reaction is, what else? What's next? What's next?
That it? Yeah.
And what's next? And you know, you reach that whole metaphor of you climb the mountain, you get to the peak, and the minute you're at the top, you see all the other mountains in front of you, and you go, which one's next? And therefore, that ambitious mentality is like a massive superpower, but it's a curse at the same time. Because if you didn't have the ambition, then you wouldn't get up in the morning and climb the mountain, because you wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't have the fire making you do it. But the curse is the fact you're never content. So that every time you climb these mountains, the horizon constantly escapes you. Every time you get there, it gets further away, and you spend your life doing that. And I think acknowledging that fact is a really important point. So you just go, I know I'm never going to win this life. I'm never going to win. I'm never going to reach my horizon. And I call it the goal paradox. Like, the goal is important, because if you've not got a goal, there's nothing, there's nothing to focus for. If you've not got a dartboard, you can never hit the bullseye. But at the same time, you've got to acknowledge the goal is completely meaningless, because you're never going to reach it, because you're constantly in this game of cat and mouse. And the way we flip that is we acknowledge that, well, when am I happy? Well, I'm happy when I'm climbing the mountain, normally with my mates and good people around me. That's when I'm happy. So when I'm pursuing my goal, when I'm trying to get to that peak, it's not about being content. The contentment comes from, I am currently going up a mountain with my mates and pursuing my goal, and I feel mint. And that's like this. Sometimes you have to nap up the mountain. Sometimes you've got to stop for a bit. Sometimes you take the wrong route and you've got to go back down for 2 days to come back again and go back up another route. So it's not linear. It's, you climb the mountain like this, right? But the whole point is that whilst you've got a focus and you're focusing on that horizon, you're constantly just being grateful for the process, for the journey. And that's where the happiness lies. And I think too often we can become depressed as men because we're so hyper-focused and tunnel visioned on meeting goals and and winning, that we forget about being grateful and present and enjoying just the journey in the moment for what it is. Yeah, and I think just acknowledging that in itself can be like, oh yes, I'm all right. It's just about the process here. It doesn't actually matter about that. It does, but it doesn't. It's imperative, but it's meaningless at the same time. And we can accept that. It is what it is. And I think that's the real problem. And why I say that is because I'm in a position, when I was playing rugby, I've got, a beautiful house, a nice car, I've got 2 lovely, healthy children. I've got, a stunning wife to be, I've got food in the fridge. I've got everything I could have possibly wanted, and I wanted to kill myself. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You can be the richest person around, but you can be the poorest person around. And it's this idea, if you're a man listening to this thinking, if only I had a bit more money, then I'll be all right then. If only I had a better car, then I'll be sweet. If I had better clothes, then I'll be all right. And I know that seems really disingenuous from someone that's been in a position that I have got a car, I have got food in my bank, and I appreciate there's so many people out there in situations where they're really struggling to find their feet with different things. But my message and my experience is that I was no happier when I was 16, 17, pursuing a rugby career on, you know, struggling to pay my rent, with you know, I'd just broken up with my my previous partner, with my children's mother. I felt like a, you know, I wasn't being the dad I was supposed to be. I was up and down with the kids. I didn't have any money coming in. I had no job. I was pursuing something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd looked at that guy, you'd have gone, well, surely they'd be really stressed out and unhappy. And I wasn't. I was buzzing. I was really happy. And the reason why I was sort of no different to what I was now, I believe, because I was on a journey. And I was pursuing a journey, and therefore it kept me okay. And obviously I had all these demons at bay, but actually it was when everything slowed down, I didn't have rugby anymore. I didn't have that journey to focus on. And I've sort of reached the horizon. I've got everything I want now. And that's when I wanted to kill myself. And it seems to go counterintuitive. So that would be my real strong point to those men out there listening to this, for example, is please do not think that when you reach that goal in your head that we've all got, you're going to be happy, because you won't be. You'll feel like shit if you don't deal with or acknowledge the fact it's nothing about that. There's no material object you could possibly get that's going to make you any happier. The only happiness you're going to get is acknowledging that it's all about pursuing a horizon, following a process with good people. Because at the end of the day, happiness is only real when it's shared.
Ooh. Hey up. Oh man, we're just going in today, brother.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's great. I'm absolutely buzzing right now, man. This is what it's like, because as I said earlier, I'm reassured because I am that man. That is what you've just described.
We all are.
It's like, oh my gosh, he's fudged me up. He's like dissected my brain and just laid it all out on the episode. Like, yeah, that's me. And as I'm going through this journey with Enlighten and trying to support men as best as I can with my team, and it's not even a year old. What was it? April 20. It's 1 month, so it's 11 months today old. 11 months, and we've got over 500 blokes. We've got over 450 subscribers. We've been interviewed on radio stations and things. We're like, what? Like, think people approached us, not us begging it, and we're just like, whoa. Hold on a minute. We've had 20 tram stop posters in Nottingham City, all of Enlighten stuff. Just like, whoa, like, it's so humbling. But the point is, like, the boys have to chill me out on my team. They're like, Rory, you're going too fast. But it's because I'm so freaking driven to see men being reached out to and their lives being saved that no one's stopping me. And they're like, Roy, you need to slow down, in a good way. That I love my boys. They're top lads, and they're right, because I'm a networker. So I'm like, right, we'll go on this now. We'll go on this. And it's like, I need to just embrace this journey a bit more, because I feel like, I don't know, it's like, oh shoot, it's quite emotional actually. I feel like when I hear about a guy dying, like it freaking destroys me. And the thought, this is the worst part, is that we have guys on our group who are accessing our stuff. I don't know how powerful it is. It's potentially saving their lives, but they know a bloke that's killed themselves, and I'm telling you, it's quite a few now, handfuls, and I'm just like, if only it's not savior complex. That's different. If only they could have known. Maybe if they could have been reached out to, and you're like, we've got to. I've got to keep going, man. We've got to keep going, and so it's just like until the male suicide rate, it was like 4,303, I think, last ONS data year. Until that's zero, I'm not stopping doing this, brother. I ain't going nowhere. And it's just it's so reassuring to hear coming from you, all of your passion, all of your intel, coming out on this episode. It just means the world, because I'm just like, you get it. You really get it. You're embracing that journey.
What I found recently is that I'm now pursuing a professional, potentially pursuing a professional MMA career. So I've spent my life with really, you know, hard-nosed rugby league players in the north of England, you know, who on the face of things are these really tough guys. I'm not blanketing completely, but we weren't tough. We weren't tough at all. We didn't talk about shit. You know, you've just been tougher there, for example, than 10 years of a professional rugby career. The idea that you can actually start talking and be emotional and say what you think, like the idea of me turning up on a Monday morning after rugby and getting emotional, and again, I feel emotional, going, guys, I don't know how to deal with this shit. What's going on, man? Like, lads, help me out. If the idea of saying that, bloody hell, not a chance. And if someone else had said that to me, this is why, you know, which I hate my younger self for. If another man had said that to me at that time in my life, I'd have gone, you soft twat, get on with it. Come on, we're into the job. And it's like, it's so backward. It's so backward. And I think we have a responsibility to talk about this as men, but I think the more strength as a man, and not the strength as a man, but the more platform of a man you've got, the platform you've got as a man, sorry, the more responsibility you want to talk about it. Like professional athletes, top guys, and I see this all the time now, pursuing MMA, going back to my point, where you've got these guys fight for a living. That's their job. You know, that's what they do. You know, they're professional fighters. And they're humble. They're to the point where they talk about emotions. They cry, they get upset. You know, they speak about, you know, making sure that, you know, when they're down, getting really emotional, and we cry to each other. And I think that's because they're so comfortable in themselves, and they're so strong in themselves that they don't worry about the judgment and the fear of being judged by other men. And I think, therefore, that shows that you've got to be that level before you can start talking about it. Because ultimately, if you're scared of being judged, you're not going to be able to talk about it. So one, we need to try and, like we talked about before, develop that sense of resilience for all of us men and spread awareness. But two, we've got to stop judging people when they talk, when men cry, when people share their emotions. We've got to listen. We've got to engage and understand and help each other out. And so, therefore, that self-recognition success. When I showed emotion, when I talked, when I got upset, he was there for me and he listened to me. He didn't judge me and back off. And so commonly, people will get upset. It's like, oh no, I don't want to keep talking because I'm getting upset now. It's like, get upset, talk, cry. Why not? Why the fuck not? We're humans. If we weren't meant to do it, we wouldn't do it. And you know, it's that common phrase, I don't know who said it, but if it feels right, do it. And there's like this like anxiety attached to, I don't want to show that part of myself because it's weakness. It's not weakness. You are so much stronger as a man. I'm telling you, you're so much stronger as a man listening to this. If you can stand on your feet and go, I am upset, here's me being upset. You know, that's strength. Never mind being able to punch someone or rugby tackle someone or pick up a big weight. Being tough is doing that. Being honest, being real, cutting the bullshit and not being a snowflake and being genuine. And as we've talked about before, that is fun. That's what I would urge. And I think men need to be accountable for up until this point. But there is a tipping point. When you start getting to this point, you can't do that. You can't. You get once you're over the hill, you're in a state of absolute overwhelming pain, where the idea of trying to show people you're upset, you can't do it. And that's why we as a community of men, as people, need to get on, help these people out. Because when you're a man and you go over that tip, you tip over the balance, and you go into that state of where you start genuinely debating suicide, real depression or clinically diagnosed psychosis, you have to have people that pull you out of that hole. You cannot do it on your own, and you won't approach people. And asking people in that position to approach people is wrong, because they won't do it. It's unfair. It's not right. It's like asking someone, like I said, with 2 broken legs to go on a walk. They can't do it. It's more or less impossible. So we have to reach out. We have to be there. And being there for people isn't going, mate, give me a call. Oh, mate, I'm here whenever you need me. Give me a call when you need me.
It winds me up. winds me up.
Yeah, it's like, no,
Like,
mate.
no,
It's like, no, that person is never going to ring you and go, mate, I'll take you up on that coffee you asked 6 months ago for me. You have to fucking turn up at their door. You have to be there and go, I know you're feeling like crap. I'm here. Let's do something. I'm at your door. I'm doing that. Being there for someone is being proactive, non-stop checking in, not reacting to when they need you. It's being there constantly to the point where you don't allow them to be by themselves and get to that point. And that's a really difficult thing to support someone in that way, because it's draining. It's really draining. And I think therefore we've got to accept that you know, even people that are psychologists and counselors, they've only got a limited amount of clients they're allowed to have. You're not allowed to have everyone, you know, because you can't support everyone. It's unfair on the people you're supporting. And therefore acknowledging that and going, you know what, probably there's only about 4 or 5 people in my life that I can genuinely actually be there for, that I would genuinely put my life on hold to be there for that person. And if you're not willing to genuinely say that you're going to do that, then you've got to accept that. And the whole charity starts home and you go, okay, listen, I can't be there for you 24/7, but I'm going to use a network or put things in place, or maybe talk to one of your close circle about how passionately I believe in this subject, and try and go from A to B to C to try and support that person. And that's being supportive, not sending that person a text flippantly, because if they ring you at 6 o'clock when Corrie's on, are you going to really leave the house and go and see them? It's like, well, no, you're not. So don't tell them you're there for them at any minute, because you're lying to them. You've got to be willing. I always use the one where if I'm taking my 8-year-old son to his footy game, his footy final, and someone rang me saying they needed me, would I turn around to my son and say, listen, lad, we're not going to your football. I've got to go and help my mate out. Would I say that? And if I wouldn't do that for you, I'm not there for you. So I have to be really hard-nosed myself to say, is, you know, my fiance, my very close family, literally 1 or 2 close friends. Other than that, hand on heart, I can't be there for that person. So I'm not going to tell you I'm there for you, but I will take a proactive actions, and I will reach out and try and network to try and provide support and try and create momentum for support bubble that you need. But that's my main point. I've gone on loads there. Once you go over that tipping point, you can't expect people to reach out and talk about their problems. You've got to actually go to them to get that out there. But so there's the whole David Goggins being accountable proactive. It's like works up to a point, and it's gritty in here. It gets less effective, and then suddenly it's like, okay, right, we need the big guns in now. They can't do it on their own now. We need to actually invade and be proactive.
Yeah. Oh, brother. I have a feeling after this episode we'll probably be. I feel like we're going to chat way more. I hope we do, because this has just been amazing, and I've utterly enjoyed it in so many ways. And yeah, I'm really grateful for this, brother. Seriously, it's been.
Mate, I think we need to, as a male community, just keep talking, keep 100%. Sharing our experiences, and that's the only way we're gonna change the tide, isn't it?
100%. So before we do close the episode, and you know, thank everyone for joining us and yourself, have you just got one short piece of advice for a guy? In a way, it might even summarize exactly what you said today. Who just like, there's that despair, there's that hopelessness, and they just want to take their own life. Can you give a short piece of advice for them today?
Well, all I can give is the advice that going back to when I was in that state, and my biggest fear in that moment was I felt so lonely. I felt so overwhelmed with pain. And I would advise, if you're feeling like that at the moment, you're not on your own, because we all have, there's so many of us that have been going through that, and we've been through it. And I promise, if you keep going, it will get better. And I know that if you're feeling in that place right now, the despair and the pain is, you just cannot see beyond an hour, never mind a day or a week. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I promise that you might not get completely better, quickly, but you'll get to a point where the pain subsides enough that you can have an element of calm and mental clarity, where in that moment you can actually start to be proactive and have the strength to maybe talk to someone or reach out or help out. But that would be my big thing. Obviously you're going to need help, other people to support and lean on. But if you're in that real terrible place, you just cope, just keep going. Even if you're taking it hour by hour by hour by hour, over time, the pain will start to subside gradually. So just don't do anything impulsive, and please don't turn to drugs to get out of the way of the pain. We've not really touched on that today as much as I probably wanted to, and you wanted to.
I know, it just went a whole nother, that's why we'll probably have to get you back on, mate.
Yeah, but if you start using drugs to try and get out that pain, I promise from experience, please listen, it will just make things worse and worse and worse. And it's when you're wired or when you're pissed, that's when you'll do the impulsive action normally. That's when you'll take your life. So, stay strong. And also, if you are dealing with that pain right now, you are worth it. You're not a problem for people in your life. You have worth, you have value. The ripple effects of your actions over your life can be so fucking powerful and so amazing. You can inspire and you can motivate, and you can use the pain you're going through now to make so much difference, positive impact on so many people in your life, just by talking about your story and your experiences that you're going through right now. So it's such a superpower. So don't think that that's going to be a negative thing, because you can use it. You can use it right now. You might not feel like you can use it, but I promise, if you have the strength to keep going and deal with it, over time the pain will subside, and you can turn this horrible, horrific pain into something so amazing and so powerful that can transform so many people's lives.
Oh yeah. Oh, come on, lad.
Yeah,
love it. But yeah, this is episode 30, guys. It's been absolutely amazing. Before we do go, guys, we want to reach as many men as possible. So coming up on the screen right now, subscribe to this YouTube channel, press that red button below. We just want to get further reach on YouTube. So our videos go high up the search bar. When someone types in certain words, bang, we're up there. So please do that. It'd be amazing. On your social side of things, just share this video far and wide, because there'll be men that Jamie and I don't have access to, who are in that dark place. And I really believe wholeheartedly, out of this discussion, they are going to just be equipped so powerfully. And I believe lives can be changed as a result of this. So share this video far and wide. Social media things, we've had Jamie's handle on Instagram come up. We'll put it on the screen right now for you guys. So follow him, check his stuff out, because that's how I managed to pull this out of the bag, and now he's brought the fire. So power of social media is amazing, guys. Our handle coming up on the screen right now, follow us too, is at Enlighten 𝑆H1. But thank you so much, guys. It's been absolutely brilliant. Love this episode. And thank you to Jamie as well, mate. Nice one.
Thank you, Rory. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.